Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. I'm going to try to get into this video as fast as possible. You're going to have to bear with me though, because I got to do a ton of cover my ass on this. This is a follow-up to yesterday. I'm calling it the butt behind the butt. The butt, B-U-T, behind the butt, B-U-T-T. I'm so clever. But I've actually written notes. So many notes, okay? There's like 13 pages of notes because there's a particular male YouTuber whose followers, whose fans like to report my videos when I'm on the wrong side of an issue. Great feminist allies there, but I gotta be real careful because this is an issue I've had in the past on The Last of Us 2. But I hate shilling this way, but if you were ever gonna become a patron, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. That feels so slimy, but, you know, money's money. That's not why I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video to offer my opinion for the value of offering my opinion. I know, because I am a woman who talks to other women in gaming, that issues like this, a lot of women don't bother speaking because they don't have the right views. They don't want the trouble. They have enough trouble. They're so uncomfortable by what's going on. The stuff that is silencing women means women are silenced. And the gatekeeping that goes on in gaming means that there's a certain subset of female opinion that's considered acceptable. So that's the only thing that gets through. And that subset of female opinion is being deemed good by the exact same subset of white men, not all white men, don't freak out, subset of white men who are at gaming websites and at game developers in high-ranking positions who gatekeep these discussions. Because gaming is so white male dominated, white men still determine, whether we like it or not, what views are considered acceptable and what views are wrong-think. And obviously not the bulk of gamers. It's a particular subset who gatekeep on these dialogues and only let through the female voices that make them comfortable. Now, that comfort is put through a particular lens that I am going to show you in this video, or attempt to show you why this is the problem, why this is a problem, and why this particular lens makes women like me incredibly uncomfortable. You guys know I don't come from a position of personal discomfort often, but this does make me uncomfortable. Like these opinions, like the way a whole bunch of dudes are moralizing over the image of a woman's ass, it actually makes me uncomfortable. I actually watch to see who these guys are. So if I ever happen to be in their physical presence, I am not left alone with them. That's how uncomfortable it makes me. Now, the likelihood of that is very slim, right? But I'm just making it clear how emotionally compromised I am on this issue. And I'm going to try to explain why, right? Because feelings are a good starting point, but you got to be able to put some intellectual meat on those feelings. And it's real simple, okay? Women, I won't say women like me, but women who have the same perspective on this particular issue that I do, don't like it when men moralize on womanhood, period. It doesn't matter what the details are. Now, guys saying, this is to my taste, this is not to my taste, this is my, it's one thing to go, I like this, I don't like this. It's another thing to go, this is right and this is wrong. This is moral and this is immoral, okay? And this whole Miranda's butt thing has crossed that line. It is never okay for a bunch of dudes to decide what is moral and immoral in terms of the conduct and depictions of women. That should be up to us to decide. And every time that is violated every time, it's a problem. I mean, I haven't even heard, I saw Laura K. Dale very gently go, okay. It kind of struck me as, I would like to stay out of this, thanks. It was, bailout, right? I haven't even seen Anita Sarkeesian comment on this. Like, that's how male dominated it's been. And I know Anita and I wouldn't agree on this, but at least she's affected by this opinion. Unlike all these damn guys who, okay, you might have a wife, you might have a mom, you might have a sister, but you are not personally affected. Okay? It's different. You're not understanding it from the inside. Okay? The problem is, well-meaning as it may be, it's still male gatekeeping in a male-dominated industry. It would have been one thing if it was a female Bioware dev saying, I wasn't okay with this, and I wanted to change because I'm in a position to have it change, right? There would have been an uproar, but I would have supported that. She works there. She's in a position to make that call. Okay. But it was a couple of dudes doing it on women's behalf. And no matter what, when we get this is guys determining for women what is respectable, meaning worthy of respect, and therefore okay. See the problem here? If not, stop watching now, or maybe hear me out, okay? I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in a female-dominated space and just felt like you couldn't voice an opinion because you were the only dude in the room and women were being so loud about something. I don't want to stereotype, but I want to make it clear that this isn't just something men exclusively do to women, okay? Gaming just happens to be so white male dominated that most of the people, this bad, right, are white dudes. Now, granted, plenty of the guys who are going, this not bad, are also white dudes. But again, it's a bunch of guys fighting over a woman's ass. This is what happened to Troy, okay? Why are these cautionary tales not sinking in, okay? This also comes, if gaming was less male dominated, it wouldn't be as significant, right? The fact is, it is. So fights like this have this huge chilling effect on the affected group, in this case meaning women. And I know that when other things happen, when it's about Asian characters, or like I know a bunch of people who were Asian, had thoughts about Ghost of Tsushima, and they felt like they couldn't speak because the opinion was so dominant, we're going to ignore this game, that they're like, why should I bother, right? The problem is when you've got so much agreement in the different factions, right? Echo chambers form. And when echo chambers form, I noticed this especially in like white liberalism. There's a huge blind spot. Identifying as an ally is not enough, okay? It's one thing to say, check your privilege. It's another thing to actually do it. It's another thing to actually rewire your thinking and recognize, even if, yes, women were involved in this process, the fact that the whole Miranda buttshot thing was framed as one dude talking to another dude and deciding what to do about a depiction of a woman, it wasn't presented well if women were in fact involved in the process at the very least. Okay? Bad shit can still happen in liberal spaces, in ally spaces. Look at Ubisoft. Okay? There's a shining example of a company who thought they were the good guys, so they got complacent. People like, when you have to watch a video co-produced with Vice Media when you're there to cover a video game, that is so performative woke. But that didn't stop Ubisoft from having a serious sexual harassment and assault problem. This matters, okay? Any echo chamber results in people getting lazy when it comes to challenging opinions. And every time that happens, it's a problem. When you are incredibly dominant in a space, like, I try to be careful about how hard I come down on some people because I recognize that, I have a platform and they're a commenter. Now, sometimes I have to do it anyway, but I pull my punches as much as I can because I recognize that there is a power imbalance. I wish more people in gaming would be more aware of this. Like, where are the women talking about this stuff? There's a reason they're not speaking, and it ain't the one you think. This sort of thing, these dude echo chambers, okay? I'll say dude because I don't know, it just is less of a punch in the face than male. I don't know why. And again, not all men, chill. These male space echo chambers can result in things that are just annoying. I had an experience last week, 2 weeks ago, where someone who had clearly spent too much time on certain anime message boards didn't see the problem with talking to me about breasts and calling them milkers. That's rude. I don't have time in this video to get into why it's rude. Just take my word for it. That's rude. And if you have spent so much time in one of those echo chambers that word's used so much that you don't recognize it's rude to say you've spent too much time in that echo chamber. Okay? And I guarantee you I will get arguments in the comments section about this from guys. It's a woman telling you it's rude. Stop doing it. Get past the echo chamber, okay? Not every woman thinks it's rude. This woman does, and it's my YouTube channel. Stop it. Okay? This works the same way in these game companies that are also echo chambers, okay? This is a structural issue. The reason I gave that example is everybody kind of, oh, shoot, Juliana, you're being obvious. Well, to these guys that don't know, no, it's not obvious. Let's move over to the other side, okay? These structures that are great feminist allies because they're letting in only the women that prop up the ideas that the men in these echo chambers already hold and therefore are proper, respectable women, okay? They're only getting in because they agree with the guys. There's no real challenge there. They're already either confirming what these guys already assumed women thought or were afraid women thought. We're not at the point where these companies can really take challenges to their status quo. Trust me, I've had to deal with their PR departments in the past, okay? It's real. The thing is, women are almost as likely as men to hold, and I don't like this term, but I didn't make it up, benevolently sexist views, okay? Men are slightly more likely to hold benevolently sexist views than women, but it's not like hostile sexism, right? Like, men are far more likely to hold, women are antagonists, women are bitches, all that stuff, right? But benevolent sexism is more like traditional stereotypes. Essentially, women are kind and men are strong. Women don't like sex. Women aren't visually stimulated, like all that stuff. Women are more moral than men. Women are angels. Women should be put up on pedestals, right? This is the thinking underlying the whole Miranda buttshot is bad argument, okay? The problem with benevolent sexism, and again, I didn't make up that term, is it's not benevolent at all, right? They have found that people who score high in these benevolently sexist attitudes are more likely to blame the victim when things like sexual harassment or sexual assault happen. Like, why were you alone with him? Why'd you dress that way, right? You're defying the nice girl stereotypes. And so it's like a switch flips and immediately it's bitch had it coming, right? I use that word deliberately because that is the thought, okay? This thinking seems like, oh, we're great defenders of women. But that's the problem. You're trying to defend us. You're not letting us speak. You're not letting us defend ourselves. You are still controlling the lines that we are not allowed to step out of, O ye defenders of us. You know, is the fence keeping out the big bad world, or is it keeping us in? Guess what? It's doing both. People might be thinking, oh, that's not me. I'm sorry. If you are not challenging these assumptions, it may very well be. I mean, I was very happy to see the vast majority of people believed Evan Rachel Wood. It was nice to see guys like, blanking on his name, the old Wes Borland and Trent Reznor backing her up. But even with that, there were people who were like, well, what did you expect dating Marilyn Manson? You know, she expected it to be an act like everybody else did. That's basically how it works, right? And this is where we get into this traditionalism, right? The thoughtless knee-jerk is that women don't like sexual imagery the same way men do. So all sexualized depictions of women are demeaning. Okay. The problem with this attitude is it actually fuels things like sexual harassment and revenge porn. Okay. It also fuels the thing I have to deal with every so often. Some dude suggests I'm a stripper, a hooker, a slut, a sexual assault victim, something like that, to attempt to demean and undermine me, attack me personally, to try to dismiss what I'm saying. Why would any of these things have anything to do with my opinions on video games? Like, if I was a stripper and a gamer, or was, God, I'm 42 now, but if I was a stripper and a gamer, it would be no different if I'm not a stripper and a gamer when I'm talking about video games, right? The fact that this even comes up, right? The fact that women are dismissed that way in a way men aren't, and yes, men are dismissed in other ways, but this particular thing is unique to women. This is the problem with seeing all sexualized depictions of women as an inherently demeaning thing. Like, have you ever wondered why revenge porn is a thing at all? And why, you know, the vast majority of victims of revenge porn are women? Well, it's real simple, because Chris Evans actually puts a picture of his schlong on Twitter, and it's a joke for a couple of days. When Jennifer Lawrence's, you know, iCloud is hacked and her nudes were leaked, it was a huge deal for months. And that's connected to the fact that Jennifer Lawrence goes to the Oscars and Seth MacFarlane does a whole song about "we've seen your boobs." You notice it wasn't "we've seen your boobs and schlongs." It was "we've seen your boobs," right? As if seeing a woman's boobs is what exactly in an industry where nudity is a part of the job in a lot of cases. And, you know, it's supposed to be awarding excellence in a craft. If he just made a YouTube video about "we've seen your boobs," no problem. But this was at the Oscars. Okay. And he did a song that specifically targeted women about something that is not comfortable for anyone, right? Nobody especially likes doing nude scenes. They're weird and static and stilted and strange. But, you know, guys weren't subjected to, "Tee-hee, I saw your butt. You know, tee-hee, I saw your schlong." No, it's tee-hee boobies. And we have to ask why. We have to ask why the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences approved a song that was that juvenile and in that venue unprofessional. And then women had to sit there and pretend to find it funny. Some of them may have found it funny. Others didn't. Could they say so? No, because Seth MacFarlane's funny. He's funny. He's a funny guy. I'm not going to be fan. this is the problem, right? It wasn't that he did it at all. It's the venue he did it in. And anybody who had an issue with it was, come on, it's Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, why'd they book Seth MacFarlane? This is the world women have to live in. And it's not the existence of "we've seen your boob" song. Again, that's the problem. It's that we've seen your boob songs and not the male equivalent, right? There's no male equivalent. It's not remarkable if a man has his shirt off. Men have nipples too, but we see female toplessness as a different thing than male toplessness. Why? I don't know. I really don't. I mean, James Vega's boobs in Mass Effect are bigger than Liara's, for God's sakes. But here's the problem with this, okay? Here's the problem with treating the sexualization of a woman and the sexualization of a man as very different things, okay? Because we can agree that they are treated differently. Jin in Ghost of Tsushima, I will come back to this, but Jin in Ghost of Tsushima is bare ass naked for no real reason. That doesn't add anything to plot or character, okay? It's just an ass. It's treated totally different than a couple of shots of Miranda's tuchus fully clothed, okay? They're treated as completely different things. And here's the problem with treating depictions of women that way, sexualized depictions of women that way, gratuitous sexual depictions of women as shameful instead of just merely an artistic miss, okay? An individual, male or female, can't control whether or not another individual sexualizes them. Okay? It's impossible to know all the sexual proclivities of everybody that crosses your path. So when a workplace like Bioware shames women for being seen as sexual, for, the gaze focused on her bum, it makes women less likely to come forward when they're uncomfortable because a woman's afraid she's going to get blamed. Why'd you dress that way? Why'd you depict yourself that way? Miranda, why'd you wear a suit that was so tight? Because she wanted to. Because she wants somebody to look at her ass. But she gets to say when that stops. Okay, thanks. Right? Women are terrified of inadvertently encouraging that type of attention. There's a whole subroutine that goes on in our brains professionally, making sure we cloak, right? Cloaking devices. Oh, let's zip right up. Let's not look too sexy because that'll be distracting. That's unprofessional. Yet a guy in the exact same workplace walks in with he's been at the gym. He's got the sleeveless shirt. Come on. That's designed to be looked at. So why don't women have the same freedoms? Well, because it makes those types of men uncomfortable. I don't respect her when she dresses that way. Benevolent sexism. So what happens with women is this domino effect starts happening. When we are hyper aware that it is our responsibility to modify our behavior, to be as invisible as possible so that we don't draw sexual attention because it's our fault if we do, okay? That leads to other things. Okay, what if it's not just my clothes? Because dudes will women sexualize other women too. Women sexualize men, but a lot of time it doesn't have anything to do with your wearing. Some people are like, oh no, I like it concealed. I like it legally imagined. You cannot control what someone else does. So because you cannot stop this, okay, then you stop volunteering. Then you stop speaking up. More and more, you try not to call attention to yourself because the minute you are seen, you are sexualized. And then that's going to be a bad thing. The alternative is you're seen and you come across as bitchy, which is pretty much the only thing worse in a lot of these companies than being seen as sexualized, is being seen as bitchy. So the minute you're noticed, the minute you open your mouth, you cannot win, right? Because then you got this whole panel of male allies judging you like, oh, don't be too sexy, don't be too bitchy, don't be too... The best thing to do is just wait to be told what to do. Don't speak up. Certainly don't complain. Oh my God, complaining about anything. And this is probably going to shock a lot of these male allies, right? They think, oh no, my door is always open. We support a safe environment. Yeah, right. Tell that to fucking Ubisoft, right? They said the same things and all that was going on. I know guys at that company that tried to complain and got shut down. This is what happens. This is what happens when you demonize female sexuality. Nobody wants to hear it because it's so awful. It's so the end of the world that people just freak out. They don't know what to do. Instead of going, that was unprofessional, cut it the fuck out. If you don't cut it the fuck out, you know, and you know, you don't have to do a lengthy investigation if people can come to you and say, look, there's this thing going on. I don't know if it's anything, but I'm telling you now before it gets bigger. All right, great. Thanks for letting me know. Instead, it becomes this whole violent harassment. Women do not want to come forward precisely because it becomes this big fucking deal. They don't want to get anybody fired. They just want it to stop. Because again, getting someone fired is not nice. And women are not nice at our peril. Okay, you may notice I don't subscribe to this, but I spent so many years in this professional vice. I wasted so many years being terrified that somebody would not like me because that would be certain doom. And having to have so many, let's get this, like being uncomfortable and then having to get pushed to the point of, get this straight, I am not sleeping with you ever. And having the guy totally change. Like so many years, so many fucking years. I just got sick of it. Because you know what? If I can sit here and get labeled a bitch, big deal, I don't care anymore, get in line. But some other woman is not going to have to go through that. I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay? If a guy looks at your ass, ladies, that's not on you. Even if you wore something to make your ass look good. Because you know what? A look should just be a look. Okay? The issue with the whole Mass Effect butt thing is not that a company changed something in an IP that they own. It's the problematic reasoning behind it. Okay, so what if the camera's focusing on Miranda's ass? So what? It makes way more sense in context than the gin butt. Okay? And the thing that gets me, okay, the reason I keep going back to Ghost of Tsushima and not like all the actual sex scenes in Mass Effect, like, context is subjective. Yes, it is. But in Ghost of Tsushima, there's totally gratuitous, literal bare-ass nudity. And then we're expected to relate and empathize with Jin as you select which innermost thought he's going to meditate on while he soaks in the hot springs. We go immediately from but to caring about this guy as a human being in a way that these Miranda butt takeout supporters are insisting you can't do when you look at a woman's ass. The whole Ghost of Tsushima thing invalidates the fact that gamers can't go, oh yeah, nice ass, and care about the character's feelings and desires. We do it all the time, okay? If it's okay to do to a man, it's okay to do to a woman, period, end of story. If it's not okay to do to a woman, it's not okay to do to a man, period, end of story. That's how equality works. And yes, again, different studios. Sucker Punch has way more of a sense of humor, okay? But again, Bioware has straight up sex scenes in their games. I'm on page 10 of 13, guys. Hang in, okay? Here's the problem with those sex scenes. They're awkward. Okay, BioWare fans really like the romances, the relationships. And part of the problem with BioWare, at least for me, is that instead of being focused on those relationships and really getting to know the characters as people, kind of peeling back the onion, like watching them bloom like a rose, right? Is it's more about what plumbing you want to get with badonk, right? Like, Iron Bull. There was no emotional content to that Iron Bull storyline at all. It was, I was so put off by it. I was like, fuck it. I'm taking my female Tal the shot because I'm not a Kunari. We don't follow Kyun. But I'm taking my ass elsewhere. You're a fucking dick, you know? But when they got so focused on plumbing, they stopped creating those emotional attachments. Because here's the thing. The sex scenes, especially in like 2012, they were awkward and characters weren't even really making contact. So it was like, ooh. It was so, like, I actually would look away from the screen. It was my least favorite part about the romance options, right? Like the Morden Solis's guides to sex with aliens. You could claim that was gratuitous too, but it's funny, right? Every single sex scene in Mass Effect is gratuitous. They don't really show, except for I would claim Isabella's in Dragon Age, but that's not a Mass Effect sex scene. They were just quasi-porn, let's face it. They weren't terribly well done, and they were stilted and awkward. But they're not saying we're gonna redo those because they're fucking awkward, because, like, they can't. They only have so much budget, right? But those are still there. They're not changing Miranda's costume. So why are butt shots that are so now infamous that they become memes? You know, why? Could you imagine if Resident Evil said, if they said that blood, I hope it isn't Chris's bloodline. That was cheesy. That wasn't well done. We're taking it out. Like, we like it because it's cheesy. These are video games. They're fun. Every moment doesn't have to be fucking serious. Right? Like, that's part of the problem. Anyway, back on track. I want to get back to hammer this home that we need to get right. We need to understand this sub-programming in women where we are trying to avoid being seen. Because the minute we're seen, we might be sexualized, and the minute we're sexualized, we have no idea who's not going to be able to see us as anything but that. You know, in a proper workplace, somebody should be able to spam the entire company with topless photos of a woman, and yeah, he gets fired, but nobody else should look at that woman any differently. Every woman right now is going, that would be nice. That's not the world we live in. And that's the reality. And until guys stop losing their minds about girl parts, straight guys, stop losing their minds about girl parts, this does affect women feeling comfortable speaking up in meetings. It certainly stops us from aggressively promoting our ideas, for going to bat for something, because you get really passionate about something. Like, you've either got the guys of mad woman, angry woman, oh my god, bitch, you know, or you've got the guys of, oh, she's getting mad, that's hot, right? Neither of those categories of guys are listening to what you're saying. They're not responding the way that they would respond to a guy showing passion. I get this all the time. I'm a demonstrative speaker. Years of doing comedy, right? I get in a performative mode. It's really big. And I've had people say it took me a long time to realize you weren't angry. Does anybody remark on whether Yahtzee is angry or Jim Sterling is angry or, you know, any numerous number of guys? Like, isn't Ninja complaining about something every other week? Like, you know, PewDiePie has to dress up like Hitler to get that kind of attention. A woman just has to say something forcefully. Now, I know I'm especially terrifying. Like, I'm aware of that, but that's a joke. And then we get to the complaining thing. We get to not being agreeable, right? The whole thing about, I'm not okay with this. And I actually had a situation recently where there was a meeting in a game dev job I was doing. And there was something I really didn't like, and I thought it was a bad idea. And I said, if this is the way you want to go, I will be on board. I will do it. I will do what I'm told. I'm telling you now, I think it's a bad idea. And this is why. 3 days later, I was fired. And the reason I was given is I was not a team player. Now, I've seen men do that. And they're like, that's really professional. Like, you spoke up. You made it clear. I appreciate your feedback. You said you would be on board. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you being honest with me. It's a very different thing, TM, when that comes from a woman with guys who claim to be defenders of women, okay? Who claim to be big on board. They're with it, right? No, the minute I get that there are a lot of guys with conditions that have risk sensitivity disorder, but still, this is the byproduct, right? This is the salt that's produced in the chemical reaction. That was a weird metaphor. That's what my brain thinks. But this is what happens when women are treated as a different species from men. And my God, there's a reason trans misogyny is double duty. Because these same guys who claim to be all down with they've got a sub-process in their head going, well, you're a woman, but you're not really a woman. So in some ways, I'm more comfortable with you. In other ways, it's awful. It's just awful. Trans people get the absolute, they get shit from both ends because of this stupid, artificial gender performance binary. The root of transphobia is really with a lot of people that men are like this, women are like this. I don't know what you are. It's stupid. It's a woman, okay? Guess what? She's also an individual. Treat her like an individual. Get to know her. The way, you check out Miranda's butt through the game, but then you get to know her. And I'm really tired of this. I think you can see how tired I am of this. Okay? And part of it is because, not a team player. Not a team player. That's what women get when they're not open and agreeable. So the minute a guy like this gets a signal and then they feel rebuffed, not a team player. What that means is that when they are around a woman at work, they expect to never feel uncomfortable. They expect to never feel challenged, and they expect to never feel out of control. And this isn't conscious. This is so root brainstem. This is the problem where all this, that's not respectable, comes from, okay? A lot of people are going to have really bad reactions to it because they don't want to admit it about themselves. But some women have had very, very good experiences in the industry. And I will say gaming's way better than other media. Okay. It's way better. At least you get a shot. In film or TV, you basically get shut up and show your tits on day one, right? The problem is it's more insidious. And we don't want women to come in. We don't want to have another Ubisoft, right? We don't want that. And I have said this before, I'll say it again. I think the only reason Ubisoft got those problems is there are just more women at that company to harass. There were issues at Rocksteady. There were issues at EA overall that were different, right? But this isn't a gaming thing. This is a culture thing. And I've talked to people in other industries that have a lot more women in management roles. And they recognize that the way gaming is handling this stuff is, there's no nuance to it. If it was that simple, oh my God, we'd have women in the C-suite all over the place at game companies. We've been fighting about this shit since 2012. Where are the women if these tactics work, right? They're watching CW shows where there's boobs and butt, and, you know, they watch Batwoman for the hot lesbian action, okay? There are times, I don't want to make it sound, and I know this video is long, but it just takes a long time to get through this, right? I don't want to make it sound like just use gratuitous butt shots whenever you like, okay? I'm saying that there's actually, I saw an artistic purpose in that depiction of Miranda. I actually liked, again, can't stand the character, but one of the things that made her more tolerable was the fact that the game was honest about the TNA, the feminine perfection angle, okay? And it's like, yeah, we made this ass for you to look at. It felt honest. And I can't stand this white liberal male dishonesty of they want to act like they don't exist below the waist. And that makes me deeply uncomfortable because I know they do. And if they're not down with that, if they can't accept that, I don't trust them. I don't trust them to be able to look but not touch. Like, it should be in any creative industry that kind of content is a part of the job. But I've talked to some designers who say, yeah, I just go into another headspace about that. It doesn't register the same way as when I'm with my girlfriend. That's a guy I feel safe around. Okay? That's what we want. I want to give you an example of a game. I talked about this before, but just so the people watching this video and are looking to attack me, I'm not defending all butt shots. I just think there's more artistic merit in the Miranda butt shots than in the Jin from Ghost of Tsushima butt shots, okay? Jin Sakai, totally gratuitous butt shots. They add nothing but a nice butt. Perky man bum. But, you know, I compare this to a game like The Witcher 2 with Vess and, like, gratuitous ass shots from the first goddamn scene. Like, I was like, oh, come on. Like, it's a torture scene where all Vess does is come in and out, serve them food, I'm not kidding, and her butt is front and center. Okay, chuckle, whatever, they're being pervs, okay. But then, okay, well, we're doing all the ass shots, then a major plot point in The Witcher 2 is that Vess gets raped. That's not okay, okay? You don't force sexualize a character when that's coming down the pipe. That's just not cool. It's uncomfortable. It could be very triggering for a lot of people. That's bad, okay? But Miranda's arc, where you start there, and then you learn more and more about her, and you realize her life isn't so perfect. And the fact that they only did it to like one character instead of every character, right? And that wouldn't always work, right? If Miranda was just disposable and didn't have any complexity to her, if she wasn't, you know, the head cheerleader prom queen that Jack, the rebel foul-mouthed bad girl from the wrong side of the tracks, clashed with, it wouldn't work as well. But let's face it, like, from a female perspective, yes, Miranda is the kind of woman that we expect men to notice in that way. And women are programmed that if men don't notice you in that way, they don't notice you at all because, when you're a kid, because they want to keep you safe, that's all men are interested in. So you either get that attention or none at all. And so I really like the fact that they started there. They roped the presumed male player in. And then you got to know Miranda more, right? And then, that whole storyline with her sister in Mass Effect 3, that was cool. Like, they created a well-rounded arc for a character that, let's face it, first and foremost, it's a video game. It was 2010. Height of Xbox dominance. The original Mass Effect was an Xbox exclusive for a timed period. That market expected a hot chick. And the fact that they made something of a hot chick and made, some substance to the hot chick, I think that's an achievement that they're actually erasing with their decision. I don't think don't look is the healthy message to give people. I think it's look, appreciate, even linger a little bit. But that should not at all change your opinion of the woman with the fine ass at all. You should still be able to respect her as a professional. You should still be able to care about what she's saying. You should not let your mind wander for any reason while she's speaking. Look, but stay tuned into the conversation. Okay, thanks. This is what we should be encouraging, not men can't be expected to continue to pay attention when they're confronted with a nice butt. That's everything we're trying to get away from. Because again, that makes women responsible for covering up the nice butt instead of dressing to be seen, dressing to feel powerful, dressing to feel like you're gonna walk in there and people are gonna pay attention to you and think you're gonna be awesome. No, it's stay invisible or else bad things will happen. And I'm so done. I'm so done with that. And I'm so done with the guys that continue to enforce this, continue to say they're doing this for my own good. Fuck that. It's not for my own good. And saying it over and over again doesn't make it so. It just makes me not trust the guys who are espousing this view. Because I don't expect that they're necessarily going to do it to me because I give off mad fuck off vibes. Okay? My concern is they're going to do it to some other woman who is more agreeable, who is more pliable. Because let me tell you, I interviewed some of those guys at Ubisoft and I didn't get that vibe off of them. But when I look, it's like, oh yeah, they're the ones that made a big show about being an ally. Yeah, okay. Okay, I have to be careful of that. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, yeah, how did I miss that? I should have known. I was 10 years younger. But this is not okay. And finding a few women who will back you up on that doesn't make you right, doesn't make them right. If it's okay to depict a man that way in a game, it's okay to depict a woman like that in a game. Period. End of story. No exceptions. And if it's not okay to do to a woman, it's not okay to do to a man. And I know that these sorts of woke types like to ignore Ghost of Tsushima, but it's there. And nobody freaked out. And nobody said it was gross. You know, there's been 2 Spider-Man games now where the costume's as tight as Miranda's, and Miles Morales is a teenager. If it's okay to depict a man that way, it's okay to depict a woman that way. There are butt shots in those Spider-Man games. There's a couple costumes in the first one so emphasizing the butt. If it's okay to do to a man, it's okay to do to a woman. Period. End of story. No double standards. The minute you introduce a double standard, that's sexism. Period. End of story. Doesn't mean if it's a double standard you think is protecting and helping and putting women up on pedestals. That is a form of sexism. Period. End of story. And now if you just listen, take in all those guys who are super pissed off at me right now and don't dare to admit it to themselves. So that misogyny just roils inside them, and then they end up doing something because they don't address it. I wish I was exaggerating, but okay. Thanks, everybody. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. This was a heavy one. Thanks for watching.